What's good, everyone? It's your boy Natsu with another video for the channel. Welcome back to DMV Sports Zone. And tonight, I got a guest on who doesn't need an introduction, but I guess you can give one on the channel. And that is RICO from Street Scores. RICO, how are you doing, man? And if you can you introduce yourself to the channel, potentially to some people who might not know who you are, which is, very slight possibility at this point, but still.
I appreciate it. This is RICO from Street Scores. One of the biggest Burgundy and Gold fans from Atlanta. You can find me on YouTube, Street Scores, on Twitter, Street Scores ATL. And man, I am excited because we're back to football. Basketball is great and all. It's been fun. I mean, even the Jalen Green versus the K Cunningham, but football is all that matters when football is on.
Yeah. And I mean, it's preseason football. It isn't even regular season football, and we're already very hyped to see the action out tonight. And the first question I want to ask you is related to the thumbnail that a lot of you guys probably saw, and it is with Curtis Samuel, right? I mean, what are your thoughts on the Curtis Samuel news? Do you think he'll be ready come week 1? Do you think the groin injury will be a lingering injury throughout the regular season? What are your thoughts on that situation?
Yeah, for me, I prefer for him not to be ready week 1 than for us to bring him back week 1 and we have to deal with this injury throughout the year. And Rivera is going to err on the side of caution because William Jackson missed a couple of practices from a Charlie horse. I feel like you can just stretch that out and go right back in. So if anything, I'm confident that Rivera will not rush him back. And I don't think long term we'll have to deal with any injury situations with him. But I think as of right now, I don't expect them to play week 1 because, I mean, I feel like the injury shouldn't be that bad. But again, Ron Rivera is going to err on the side of caution. And if anybody can come in and act like he was there the whole time, training camp and all of that, is Curtis Samuel. He already has chemistry with the #1 receiver, Terry McLaurin. They were roommates in college. He already has experience, working under Ron Rivera's coaching and his leadership, has direct experience with Scott Turner's offense. So if anybody that can miss training camp and come back and look like he never missed training camp, it is Curtis Samuel.
For sure. Shout out to everybody in the chat so far. A.M. Hunter, first, as he usually is, Patrick West as well, Lante, Outlaw Kings, Blue J Jai, and Curtis Samuel injury prone. I mean, we haven't heard too much regarding his injury history, right? But like, I don't know, man. It just seems to be a thing when players come here to DC, they just seem to rack up the injuries, and I hopefully this isn't one of those situations, especially because we did give a lot of money to Curtis Samuel. But I mean, do you have thoughts on that?
Man, I mean, you're not lying. It just seems like some people just come over here and it's just like they just suddenly found a new injury that they have to worry about or something like that. So yeah, but I mean, Rivera with changing the field and the new training staff, we haven't had any major injuries yet. We've been pretty straight. I mean, the worst we've dealt with is COVID-19 and some Charlie horses, a couple of banged up hamstrings, but nothing serious. No torn ACLs like a lot of other places are dealing with right now.
Okay. And with Curtis Samuel, obviously being out of action, or at least out of practice the last couple of weeks, really the last couple of months, I want to get to a guy that I know is getting a lot of hype right now in the Washington fan base. And I even posted a tweet earlier in the week saying that Dyami Brown is my Antonio Gibson of 2021. For all of you guys who don't know already, I know Rico knows by now, but going into the 2020 season, pretty much right after the draft, doing some more research, doing some more film reviews, I pretty much announced that I thought that Antonio Gibson was going to be an Alvin Kamara type back for the Washington football team. So far, so good on that prediction. And I think Dyami Brown is going to be a similar boom player that we got in the 3rd round this year. So I want to ask you this question, Rico, if you don't mind. Do you think that Dyami Brown has pretty much locked up a starting wide receiver spot already? Or do you think Washington will trot out Terry, Adam Humphries, and Curtis Samuel once he's back fully healthy? Do you think Dyami Brown has already locked up that spot, or do you think, maybe with some more preseason games, or maybe even a couple games into the regular season, he'll eventually get that spot down the line?
Yeah. So I mean, the logic behind if like the preseason, if he goes crazy, it seems like it'll be undeniable to let him start opposite of Terry McLaurin, regardless of Curtis Samuel coming back or not. But at the same time, Terry McLaurin's rookie season, we barely saw him in preseason because they already knew, like, this is our guy. We don't want to show him off to the rest of the league. We want to surprise everybody, and we also don't want him to get hurt. So we'll see how much Dyami Brown plays in the preseason. If he plays a lot, then they're still trying to see if he's ready. But if he plays a lot and plays very well, then I'm excited. But also I'm excited if we don't see him a lot, because if we don't see him a lot, it may be another Terry McLaurin situation. And it's crazy how parallel him and Terry McLaurin's early careers have been, like with Terry McLaurin and Dyami Brown coming out of the draft. Not sure if they can route run very well because they didn't run a lot of routes in college, but it was more so the offensive coordinator's fault not asking them to do it. Then getting drafted in the third round, the exact same round for both players, and then balling out in training camp and during the offseason, we're hearing a lot of noise, just not necessarily seeing a lot of clips. But like you're just hearing reporters everywhere talk about Dyami Brown, and back then it was Curtis Samuel. So we'll see if he passes the last test. If he doesn't play much in preseason, that's a good thing, because that can mean they're just reserving him for the regular season. He's ready to go.
Yeah. And what was Dyami Brown's biggest issue coming to the draft? Ron Rivera loved to talk about it after the draft process in terms of his drops, right? So, I mean, you can't really get a good test for that without some actual game action. So hopefully he doesn't drop too many balls in the preseason and locks down one of those spots. But I do want to get to, so Uriah here is basically hinting at the next question I wanted to ask you, and that is, what receivers do you believe will make the final cuts? Do you think Kelvin Harmon will make the roster over AGG? Do you think AGG has pretty much locked a roster spot down at this point, or do you think a lot is left on the table based off this preseason?
Now I'm one of those guys that's rooting for Kelvin Harmon big time. He's definitely one of the 6 or 7, if they keep 7, that I want to make the roster. But it's definitely looking like he's on the outside looking in. Rivera and company have already shown that, you know, if you weren't drafted here by this group, if you weren't signed as a free agent by this group, you know, your chances are very slim. And Kelvin Harmon was not drafted by this group. AGG was. Even like Adam Humphries was brought in here as a free agent. Curtis Samuel was brought here as a free agent. So he's definitely on the outside looking in. And then that unofficial depth chart they came out with for the preseason, don't want to read too much into it, but like Kelvin Harmon was all the way at the end of the bench, like as far as way as you could get. I mean, last chair on the band. So I mean, I really hope he makes it. To me, he has some of the best hands on this team, arguably the best hands. I think he has a good niche for being that possession receiver, but at the same time, he's kind of getting boxed out from all of Logan Thomas that can do it. Cam Sims is starting to become consistent, can do it. Even Tamarick Hemingway, John Bates, all of these guys are kind of the same niche as a Kelvin Harmon on third and short, or the red zone. You just need somebody to go up and grab a contested pass. I believe Kelvin Harmon can do that very well, but there's other guys that can contribute in other ways, whether it be special teams or you're a tight end that can block, that just Kelvin Harmon can't seem to compete with right now.
Okay. Do you think, I mean, there's been a lot more talk over the last couple of weeks about Steven Sims. I mean, someone who, all of us, I'm not even going to say most of us, all of us thought wasn't going to make the roster this year because of the fact that obviously towards the end of last season, or at least most of last season, he was not producing much. And then, you know, things started to ramp up for him as the games went along. And obviously they catch some clutch passes towards the end of the season. But overall, wasn't an impressive season by any means for Steven Sims. And all of us thought that he was going to be one of the first cuts this year. I mean, do you think he actually could make the roster now with like his good showings in training camp and throughout the offseason?
Well, I mean, first of all, reports are coming from like the JP Finlay and John Combs and those guys that, I mean, he looks like one of the 6 or 7 best wide receivers during training camp right now. He's literally just looks good enough to make the team. On top of that, during the Friday night practice, he was the first guy catching punts. So maybe he's first on the depth chart as far as returner as well. And if he is, he's making the team no matter what. But then it just adds to it the fact that he's actually looking good out of the slot. Maybe he looks like what we expected him to look like last year. Coming out of his rookie season, him and Dwayne Haskins kind of looked like an unstoppable duo. They both folded last year. Hopefully, you know, we'll see if Steven Sims can bounce back himself. But yeah, I mean, it's wild. Like you said, I thought going into the mini camps and things like that, Steven Sims was like 10th on the depth chart after what he did last year.
Yeah. Shout out once again to everybody in the chat. Washington Saga, Rico rocking the glasses, Tone as well. T-Roy. next question I want to ask, and I promise, I mean, there might be people in the chat that are uncomfortable that we're going here with this question, but I think it has to be talked about. And although Montez Sweat didn't go down with COVID or anything, he has been one of the vocal, I don't know what you want to call, hasn't been too fond of the vaccine. And I just want to get your thoughts very shortly on this issue before we get into, obviously, preseason game number 1. Thoughts on Washington's vaccination numbers going up at 85% reportedly right now, yet at only 58% fully vaccinated, which I believe is ranked 28th in the league. So there has been some improvement over the last couple of weeks. But what are your thoughts on that whole situation here in DC? Do you think it could potentially affect the team as we go along in the regular season?
When everybody first started catching COVID, it was almost like DEFCON threat, red ring the alarm. It was getting a little scary. It was Deron Payne, Brandon Sheriff, Cornelius Lucas, Curtis Samuel. I mean, it was just back to back to back in like 1 week span. But a lot of it, as we've seen, like a lot of people didn't even stay on the COVID-19 list for 2 weeks. So a lot of it was just contact tracing. I don't believe anybody actually had COVID. But I mean, I am a little worried, but at the same time, last year we were the team that dealt with COVID-19 the best. We only had 2 players catch it, and neither of them on the active roster. Manionitis was like already on the injured reserve, and then it was like some other random guy. I can't even remember his name, but he didn't really, we didn't expect him to play anyway. So it was easy to isolate those 2 anyway. And I feel like, I mean, with Rivera dealing with cancer last year, this year he's immune deficient. I feel like if any team is going to have a team full of players that are going to step up and do what they have to do to make sure they don't spread COVID, get COVID, or whatever, is this team, because they love Ron Rivera. They trust him. They believe in his fight and everything. So as far as vaccinations go, it's a lot of personal opinion things. It's good to see the vaccination rate going up, because at this point, whether you agree with vaccinations or disagree, the facts are, and the way the NFL has set up their rules, you either get vaccinated or you don't play, and you risk your team losing. So at this point, you kind of have to, or you either get vaccinated and play, or at the very least, don't be the guy that goes to the club. Don't even go to the grocery store. Like, if you're gonna get groceries, order it to your house. I mean, if you're not gonna get vaccinated, you need to take every precaution possible to not cause us to forfeit games. Because I mean, players lose paychecks. That is crazy.
Or I guess in Dwayne Haskins' case, don't let the club come into you. But
oh man.
but I will say though, I agree with their take, and I mean, a lot of us content creators out here in the Washington football team community are repeatedly saying that this is become a football issue, right? Like, you could say whatever you want about like injecting stuff into your body, all that, but we're just talking like strictly football, and I am a little bit worried that it might affect us down the line, because I do get your idea and the idea that's been thrown out on social media that Washington did a really good job of handling the situation last year and stuff. But my view on this is that, it's a completely different year, right? So you can't really look at last year and look at the success that we've had, especially when we have new players on the roster right now. The second thing I want to say is the Delta variant is way more contagious and stuff. So like, even if we did a good job last year, technically right now, if you're unvaccinated, I'm just going to put this out there, it's a worse situation in my opinion, based off of like the science. So that's all I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to say like get the vaccine, don't get it's your personal decision. All I'm trying to say is strictly football. I'm worried that our cases are going to go up and stuff because of the fact that no matter how much protection the players have, no matter how careful they are, sometimes I mean it just happens, right? You know what I mean? Like that's my stance on this.
And what makes it even worse is this is probably the most excited we've been about this team, definitely since RG3, and even technically like as far as the whole team, like the entire 53 roster. I'm more excited about this future team than I was the RG3 season. RG3 was just RG3. We got a new quarterback, but this team seems like top to bottom, even the guys coming off the bench. I can't wait to see what they go out there and do, even in preseason. And it would suck for something like COVID to derail all of that momentum that we have going.
Yeah, I agree. Moving on to some football talk, and Uriah, again, like the thing is though, it has become a football issue. That's the point, right? Like, it's not
the NFL made it.
Should or should.
Yeah,
we can't do anything about it right now, right? The players can't really. So, moving on though to some more football topics. You touched on the unofficial depth chart that was released on Monday a little bit, but I want your full insight on basically a couple more issues regarding the depth chart. And one of the things I want to ask you about is how long do you think it'll take before the other third rounder that we drafted this year, the one on defense, Benjamin St-Juste, how long do you think it'll take for him to be a starter on this defense? And also another question I want to ask, we saw that Cameron Curl, I believe, was the starting free safety on the depth chart. Landon Collins is starting strong safety. You said it yourself, don't put too much stock into it, but I mean, I guess a question off of that is, who do you think will actually play more this year, right? With Landon Collins being fully healthy.
Yeah. So starting with Benjamin St-Juste, I'm really excited about him. I feel like worst case scenario, even if he doesn't start snap one, week one, like literally out there on the field on 1st and 10 against the Chargers, I do feel like he's still going to play a lot. I feel like just depth chart wise, Kendall Fuller is always going to be above him. First of all, we're paying him like $10 million a year. And then Kendall Fuller is not bad. We just prefer him in the slot. So I feel like Kendall Fuller is going to be on the field no matter what. And then it's going to be times where we do move him to the slot. So Benjamin St-Juste can come out here and cover the Mike Evans, the Kenny Galladays, the DeAndre Hopkins, the bigger guys. Because Kendall Fuller definitely can't do it. We saw against the Buccaneers, he can't. And Benjamin St-Juste has shown that. I mean, I think it was one day in practice a couple of days ago. He covered Terry McLaurin one play, locked him up. Covered Adam Humphries the next play, locked him up. And then covered Cam Sims. I mean, that's a wide variety of play styles. You have the small, really speedy, quick Adam Humphries slot guy. You have the Terry McLaurin that's the do it all. And then you have the Cam Sims, the big, tall possession receiver. So he's shown that he can do it all. I'm not sure how long it's going to take for them to fully trust him to just completely take over. Like William Jackson, Benjamin St-Juste on the field, Kendall Fuller, you sit on the bench, even though we're paying you $10 million a year. I think that's going to take some time. He's going to have to like look really good for that. But I still feel like worst case scenario, he's going to play a lot. I think even week one against the Chargers, if he's not starting, he'll be out there a lot, especially somebody like a Keenan Allen. And then also as far as Cameron Curl, they said they've been trying him at free safety and it's been working out kind of in training camp. But I think it's more so both of them are just going to play a lot. Whenever we need a free safety like a Bobby McCain, we'll rotate them in. But I think they're trusting, first of all, these corners to lock up well enough and this defensive line to get enough pressure to where we don't necessarily need a free safety like that because we really haven't had one in the past 2 years. And I would love Bobby McCain to get out there a lot because with his range. But, I think they're just going to see if we can, they just want their best 11 guys on the field at any given moment. Even if that leaves a weakness over the top, I think they want Cameron Curl out there as much as possible, I've heard as well. I think John Comm said it.
Yep. Speaking of John Comm, perfect segue here. I don't know if a lot of people caught this on YouTube, but one of John Comm Report podcast videos was up on YouTube. I believe it was earlier in the week. And he interviewed Logan Paulson, who, of course, is a former player of what was then the Washington Redskins, now the Washington football team, and now does some analyst work for the team. And Logan Paulson on the podcast, and I'll say this again, John Comm, friend of the channel, go check out that interview from months ago. It's still on the channel, so but it's still good. Logan Paulson talked a little bit about Jamin Davis' struggles actually thus far at training camp. Although you noted that he's taking on a lot of responsibility as a Mike linebacker right away, right, as a rookie, which is a huge responsibility. Do you think Davis could still be in contention, though, even with all that talk about his early struggles for NFC Defensive Rookie of the Year by the end of the season, especially with what you saw to Micah Parsons last week in that Hall of Fame game?
Because I feel like just like Benjamin St-Juste, there's a worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, Jamin Davis is our starting will linebacker. And I still think with this defensive line keeping them clean, he's still going to put up crazy numbers. I mean, coverage numbers, like interceptions as well. But especially tackles on the back end. The will linebacker is not supposed to take on too many blocks. The defensive line is supposed to do the work for him. He's supposed to just, go through the traffic and find the running back or whatever whenever there's a running play. So I still think he's going to put up crazy numbers, but it would be better if he's at Mike linebacker because that would give us our best combination of athleticism. Because right now, John Bostic is the quarterback of the defense. As far as we know, he's the only one that knows how to call audibles and get everybody where they need to be. If Jamin Davis can take that over, it would be lovely to have Jamin Davis, Cole Holcomb, and then maybe at will like a Khalid Hudson because that's our best combination of athleticism. But until then, until Jamin Davis is ready to take that over, we're just going to have to deal with John Bostic out here, getting blown by in coverage. But we just need a quarterback of the defense out there. And to go back to your point, I still think he can win Defensive Rookie of the Year, even if he plays the majority of the season at will linebacker, because the numbers he's going to put up with him having to not do much work. I mean, Cole Holcomb and Cole Holcomb's going to be eating up all the blocks. Anytime there's a tight end, they're more than likely going to go up and get Cole Holcomb. John Bostic is going to be handling all the mental stuff, getting everybody where they need to be, play recognition, like, oh, that player motion this way, be ready for this play. So that's his job. Jamin Davis just has to go out there and just make tackles and cover well. That's literally it. So again, that's worst case scenario.
Yep. And everybody talks about the front four and how he has an amazing defensive line in front of him. And we said that a lot with our linebackers last year. I mean, everything's going to be easier, or was easier for them because of our elite defensive line. But this year, in my opinion, we've got an elite secondary. I mean, we got Kendall Fuller, we got Benjamin St. Juste, we got William Jackson III, who could be a star this year. I mean, Landon Collins is back, Cameron Curl. So I think having everybody behind him and also in front of him be elite, I think that's going to help him a lot.
Yeah, because I mean, even for Kentucky, he was kind of like a do-it-all guy, and it would be nice if he could do that for us. But I mean, the defensive line he's playing behind is better than what he had to deal with in comparison to Kentucky. Like what his Kentucky defensive line was doing to other SEC offensive lines, what our defensive line is going to do compared to other NFL offensive lines. He's playing behind a better defensive line. He's playing with a better secondary around him as well. So yeah, like you said, I mean, his responsibilities are going to be so minimal. It's literally just see ball, get ball. Like that's literally all he has to do in the beginning until he takes over as Mike linebacker. So I still think he's going to put up crazy numbers overall.
Yep, for sure. I want to get to Hawk's point right here. I mean, this is completely unrelated, but just interesting based off of what we talked about earlier. Most talented collection of football players potentially in the Dan Snyder era right now. Do you agree with that statement?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I was born in '94, so I wasn't here to see like all of it, at least like old enough to, realize what was going on. But nah, for sure. Like again, like I said earlier, the RG3 season had us hyped because we had like this, the fast dual threat quarterback, the playmaking explosive quarterback. But there's great reason to be excited with this because even with injuries, our backups are quality players. I mean, we're going to be cutting receivers, DBs, and maybe even a couple of tight ends and maybe a couple of offensive linemen that like last year, 2 years ago, we would have loved to have. Like if Kelvin Harmon gets cut, you know how much we needed him last year or the year before that and things like that. So our team is just so deep top to bottom. We're going to lose a lot of good players, and that just shows that how great this team is. Hopefully some of them survive the practice squad, but I doubt it.
Yeah. That's a little iffy right now. But
man.
Rio rambling about Washington podcast right here. Thoughts on the new Washington blank venue and personal preference on location? Do you have a take on that?
Not necessarily. I mean, I got to fly 2 hours or drive 10 hours, no matter where the stadium's at anyway. So I just hope it's somewhere with the least amount of traffic and where most people are happy. I think so far I've heard even from people from Maryland and Virginia, DC just seems to be the best compromise. So that's what I hope just in general. But like me personally, I have to fly far anyway. So it's whatever.
I will say though, I mean, Nova through and through, but I would still want the stadium to be in DC, man. Like you said, it's the perfect compromise for everybody. I mean, that's when this team was best, right? The glory days and everything that they were playing in DC. So why not bring us back to DC while we're, slowly but surely becoming an elite team in the NFL? I think that would just be perfect. But,
I agree.
Yeah, the chat is going crazy now with all the shout outs to RICO. I mean, he is a legend. So let me see. That kind of is a good point here. Rio here. It's kind of strange how we never hear anything about Sadiq Charles. Is he going to show us something? I feel like not hearing much about him is a good thing. That means he's doing his job.
I agree.
But I don't know if you have.
No, I definitely agree that the less we hear about him, the better. Because right now, all of the attention is basically on Samuel Cosmi starting at right tackle. And the fact that we don't hear about Sadiq Charles lets you know that, like, for backups, you're not really expecting to hear much. The only thing you're going to hear out of a backup is bad things. So if we're not hearing anything, that's pretty much a good thing. It would be nice to hear, like, oh, man, Sadiq Charles dominated Daron Payne on this rep. But as long as we're not hearing, first of all, the fact that he's healthy, the fact that he's put together 2 days of practice in a row is phenomenal enough compared to what he did last year. So that's good to not hear him.
Snap, right?
Man, bro, like crazy. So like just hearing no news about his injury concerns is great in itself. But also, I mean, with a backup, you're not going to really hear great things from a backup. Typically, if you hear any news from them, it's a bad thing. So we're not hearing anything. That's a good thing. You saw in the depth chart, he's technically the backup right guard and right tackle. So that shows how highly they speak of him just already off of that. The fact that they feel like he can step in either position if there's an injury anyway. Because I mean, if they didn't like him that much, he would just be one of the random positions. They would have had somebody else deeper on the depth chart as the other position that he wasn't assigned to. So I still think they believe in him a lot. I think ultimately we're gonna look back 2-3 years from now. Samuel Cosmi may be a starting left tackle, and Sadiq Charles may be a starting right tackle, or maybe a starting right guard to replace Brandon Sheriff. We'll see.
Yeah, Tone with the shout out once again to Rio. I'll say this with Rio's point. Bet money to Loudoun County. I mean, they're trying to appease the fans. No offense to Loudoun County, but that's strictly a money move. I mean, they're like, I think top 3, if not the richest county in America. But I feel like if you're trying to appease the fans, right, appease everyone, I feel like DC would be the perfect fit. And I also, with this take, DC is still not rocking with Dan. No, I think that was the holdup was the name, and I think the holdup is no longer there because the name has been changed. So I feel like that won't really affect things much. I don't know if you have a take on that.
Yeah, that was it was like some political leader in DC and maybe Maryland as well. Yeah, it was like we're not gonna support you getting a new stadium until you change the name. Now that that's out the way, we'll see what the new name is. Maybe they'll get a new name and it's gonna upset them again. Hopefully not though, but we'll see. As of right now, Dan Snyder's in good standing with the DMV area, and he can pretty much choose and pick and choose whichever one he wants to go to. I mean, of course, he's gonna go to the side, whichever one gives him the most. The least gambling restrictions, the one that allows him to do the most gambling in the stadium is more than likely where he's going to end up going.
Fair point. Next question I want to ask you is regarding the tight end group, because I mean, I looked at the depth chart, I look at the roster, I look at the tight end group specifically, and I think to myself, I'm a little worried. I'm a little worried about the depth that we have right now. Obviously, we have Logan Thomas at the top. I had questions about him going, much like a lot of people out there, going into the 2020 season. A lot of those questions have been resolved, especially with the contract extension that he signed.
Yes, sir.
But outside of Logan Thomas, the Hokie, are you nervous about our tight end group or tight end depth right now, with Tamarick Hemingway being the projected 2, and then John Bates being the third guy right there? Or do you think the great tight end coach that we have here in P. Hayner and the rest of the coaching staff will get things figured out yet again?
So yeah, I'm definitely a little bit more optimistic just because, first of all, can't get any worse than last season. I mean, it was literally Logan Thomas and then just guys. I mean, at one point we tried Marcus Ball out. He didn't work, so we put him on the practice squad, brought Tamarick Hemingway up to see what he could do. He was so bad, we brought Marcus Ball back. I mean, it was musical chairs with the tight end group last year outside of Logan Thomas. We already know Jeremy Sprinkle. I mean, that was just boy. So I think just off of it can't get any worse, kind of like the QB situation. It literally just can't be worse than last year. And we still won the division. Granted, the schedule was a little bit easier, but I still feel like it just can't get any worse than last year. So the only way to go is up. But from what I've heard, and what I've seen in a couple of clips, Tamarick Hemingway has like earned that second spot. It's not necessarily because John Bates isn't good. It's not necessarily because Samus Reyes hasn't stepped up. I mean, they said Samus Reyes is technically ahead of schedule, but the other guys are just that good. They're saying Tamarick Hemingway just looks like he's worthy to be the second tight end and 2 tight end set. John Bates has a little bit more catching up to do. Really, the only thing John Bates is better at than Tamarick Hemingway right now is being like an inline blocker right next to the offensive tackle. Other than that, Tamarick Hemingway is the better receiving tight end as of right now. He's the better move blocker. Like, he can get to the second level and block linebackers and DBs better. So I'm pretty optimistic about this tight end group. Again, just off of it can't be worse than last year.
That's fair. Ricky Seals-Jones, I mean, just like it's another journeyman. Like, I mean, I get it. We're not talking about tight end 1, right? Last year we were talking about our tight end 1. At that point, being a Logan Thomas who did not produce anything in his NFL career up until that point. And like you said, Marcus Ball, some other names as well. But this year, I feel like we all are more comfortable. But the depth is scaring me a bit. Another position where the depth is scaring me a bit. especially with Montez Sweat being out with a non-COVID illness. The defensive ends. I mean, do you think that's a little worrisome with, I believe it's 2 or 3 seventh rounders being the only backup Chase Young and Montez Sweat right now? Are you worried about that, or do you think they'll get that solved?
So I mean, I'm way less optimistic about this than the tight end group, first of all. But I'm not in really panic mode because I've been hearing a lot of great things from James Smith-Williams, William Bradley King, and Shaka Toney. And it's crazy because I hear the least about Shaka Toney, but last year, since Micah Parsons opted out, I mean, a lot of people feel like he was the best defensive player on Penn State last season. So I feel like they're pretty straight. Again, I've been hearing good things out of camp. Like William Bradley King's been batting down passes at the line of scrimmage. Jay Smith-Williams has beat, I think, Charles Leno or one of the starting offensive tackles, somebody on a couple of reps before. So I feel like we'll be straight. I'm not expecting them to, when Chase Young and Montez Sweat are off the field, I'm not expecting them to go get a game-winning sack at all. But I hope they can just hold it down, especially in run support. Because I'm pretty sure Chase Young and Montez Sweat, anytime it's an obvious passing down, they're going to be out there. So we just need Jay Smith-Williams, William Bradley King, Shaka Toney, whoever's out there to just hold it down and run support and set the edge while those 2 main guys are out. And so as long as they can do that, we're straight. Again, not expecting them to go out there and make a game-changing play.
Yeah. What's up, Roger Smith? Awesomeness Sports as well. So last part of the last part of the stream before we get into our full preview. I want to get your thoughts on some stats predictions for some of our guys, and in particular, the big 3 on offense right now: Ryan Fitzpatrick, Antonio Gibson, and Terry McLaurin. With Ryan Fitzpatrick, thoughts on his stats this year? Do you think potentially could have some career highs, or do you think we're gonna get a good dose of both Fitz magic and Fitz tragic?
I actually think I think his interceptions are gonna be fairly low. I mean, not as low as we probably want it to be, but I also think his touchdowns are gonna be fairly low because I think we're gonna lean on our run game very heavily this year. I think Scott Turner does not want to even allow Ryan Fitzpatrick to have those Fitz tragic moments. And without, diddly, our running game is expected to be with us having potentially the next Christian McCaffrey. There wouldn't be much of a reason to throw the ball and make too many risky throws anyway, throwing it in a double coverage, because somebody should be open. I mean, we've seen in training camp so far, Logan Thomas is pretty much always open because you got to worry about Terry McLaurin, Adam Humphries, and all these other guys. So I think it's going to be more underneath stuff and more run game than Ryan Fitzpatrick's probably ever had in his career. So I'm expecting him to put up, pretty good stats, especially yards-wise. But I don't expect him to throw a lot of interceptions, but I also don't expect him to throw a lot of touchdowns.
You got some numbers in mind, though?
Man, I'm really bad with numbers. I'm really bad. I'm trying to think. Like, maybe
let me ask you this first question, Rico. How many games do you think he's going to start or play in this year? Let me ask you that first.
Oh, yeah. I think as long as he stays healthy, I think he will start the entire year. I mean, especially with the gap that he's created, the chasm that's between him and Taylor Heinicke right now on the depth chart. Taylor Heinicke's closer to Kyle Allen than he is to Ryan Fitzpatrick.
But as long as he stays healthy, it's not a prediction. Do you think he's going to stay healthy the entire season? Do you think he's going to miss a couple games? I mean, that goes all into, your ultimate stats prediction, right?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I didn't even think about that. So yeah, I mean, we do have to account for injuries, especially with his age. We're not expecting him to be the healthiest and the most sturdy he's been in his career. And then the offensive line still learning how to gain chemistry with each other, so they may look a little ugly, a little out of sync in the beginning. So hopefully, I'm sorry, that is my alarm. If it lets me get it. Oh, that only played through my headphones. Okay, we're good. I thought y'all could hear that. But yeah, so I think maybe he misses 2 or 3 games, maybe due to injuries. I don't think it'll be anything severe. I think it'll just be like a bang-up type of thing. Taylor Heinicke steps in, gets all of us excited, like, here's our future franchise quarterback. I'm not sure if he saw, but there's a report that not just coaches, but some players feel like Taylor Heinicke can be our future franchise quarterback in the future. It came out like a few days ago. I forgot who said it. So we'll see. I mean, apparently if the players believe in him, if he comes in and balls out like he's done, even though he doesn't look good in practice like that, we'll see how that goes. If you say what?
He is a gamer, according to some people out there in the media.
Yeah, but I mean, the problem with him, can he do it consistently? Can he stay healthy? That's his major issue. That's his biggest issue right there. So for Ryan Fitzpatrick, I'm somewhere like in the realm of low 20s touchdowns and maybe single digit interceptions. Because again, I don't think he's going to force the issue like he has before. Because even with the Dolphins, the Dolphins receiver last year were second worst in the NFL in separation per route ran. And this year, it's just going to be a major upgrade from that. Everybody should be open all the time. At least somebody should be. He just got to find them. So I think he's not going to have to force the issue as much just anyway. I don't think he's going to throw too many interceptions.
Okay. In terms of his touchdown to interception ratio this year, it's my surprise to some people, but I think he's going to have a Kirk Cousins in DC type of touchdown to interception ratio. I can see 26 touchdowns, 13 picks, something like that.
Yeah,
in terms of yards, though, probably a little bit less than 4,000 because I think his best season was with the Jets, had 3,900. I mean, if you add the other game, but I'm accounting for like 3 games lost because of injury or just because of bad performance. So I think somewhere around the 3,900 range for yards, but that's where I got Fitzy.
Again, I'm a little lower just because I think the run game is going to be a heavy part of our offense. I think Scott Turner is going to abuse. I mean, even Curtis Samuel, he wants him to catch screens, reverse sweeps. I mean, it's going to be a lot out of the backfield stuff. J. McKissick had a very important role last year. Of course, he's not going to have as much of a role this year, but he's still going to be an important part of the offense.
Yep. And Scary Terry, what are your thoughts on his season? Do you have a stats prediction for him as well?
Easily career high. Well, first of all, I think Logan Thomas will lead our team in interceptions. We've seen so far in red zone drills. I mean, even William Jackson can't cover him. Touchdown receptions. Yeah, I think Logan Thomas is going to lead our team in touchdown receptions. But I do feel like Terry McLaurin, even if defense is a game planning for him, I think he's still going to lead our team in reception yards. I'm going to give him somewhere. I mean, remember, we have a 17th game, so it kind of, stats are a little weird to predict now. You got to add a little bit more. I think he's going to reach somewhere around 1,300, honestly, 1,300 at least. I definitely think he's going to easily reach the 1,000-yard mark. We've seen, I saw some stats somewhere like Ryan Fitzpatrick's number one targets throughout his career. They get like a certain amount of targets. No matter, even if there's other good receivers, his number one target is going to get thrown to
Devontae Parker, Brandon Marshall. I mean,
So I think Logan Thomas is going to eat up a lot of touchdowns. I think Terry McLaurin is going to eat up the majority of the yards receiving wise.
Okay. Do you think his touchdown number will be as low as it was last year? Do you think it will be bumped up a bit?
I think it's going to be bumped up a bit, but now with us finally having a lot of red zone threats, because last year we were just trying to find anybody that could catch a touchdown, go up and catch a contested catch in the end zone. Now we have multiple guys between Tamarick Hemingway, John Bates. Now Cam Sims seems like he's going to be an important, consistent part of the offense. Who knows who are like deeper in the depth chart of the receiver group? AGG or somebody may also come in and catch some red zone passes as well. So I don't think they're going to target Terry McLaurin too much in the end zone. Plus, I think that's where defenses will really be like, all right, Terry McLaurin can get these first 80 yards all he wants, but when we get to this red zone, stop Terry McLaurin. Whoever we have to assign, even if we have to assign a safety directly to him over the top to help the corner, I think Terry McLaurin is going to get kind of X'd out of the offense in the red zone. Logan Thomas is going to be able to eat underneath a lot.
Okay. I mean, I pretty much agree with you here about 1350 receiving yards, 7 receiving touchdowns, and I have him second behind Logan Thomas with the touchdowns. But and then last but not least, with at least the big 3 on offense, Antonio Gibson. You talked about how they're gonna keep running the ball this year. Do you think it's gonna be, in terms of the split between him and McKissick, do you think it's gonna lean much more in Gibson's favor this year with it being his second year and all the reports out there? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think this is Antonio Gibson's year to really make a name for himself. First of all, last year, in the beginning, he was barely in on third downs because he couldn't block. Then later on, we started to have him on third downs because he could block. But they also, I was a report recently, like they basically said last year they didn't throw the ball to him much because they wanted him to really learn how to be a running back, which is going to keep forcing you to just put your shoulders into people, figure out, which hole to hit, when to hit it, learn all of the nuance and mental side of being a running back. So they just kept sending him out there to run the ball. They didn't even want him catching because they're like, we know you can catch. And this year is more of like a trial year. Like, I mean, winning the division was great, But the main goal of last year was just to see what everybody can do and to make everybody better to prepare them for this year. Last year was literally a sacrifice year for this season. So they didn't even throw him the ball much last year, like on purpose. It wasn't even because he wasn't open. It was literally like, we're just not going to throw you the ball. We want you to run it as much as possible so you can get better. So by 2021, you'll be that running back that we need to really hold down the fort. So I think this year he's actually going to be an important part of the passing game. They said that they even have him, out there running routes out of the slot and stuff like that, like we expected for him last year. So I think he's going to put up big time numbers this year. I think receiving, running, granted, running wise, I think they said they only want him to get like maybe 18 to 20 carries a game, and they want that to be split up amongst the rest of the running backs. They want him to stay healthy. He's not going to get Christian McCaffrey load, but he's definitely going to be a Christian McCaffrey comp, just like, a little mitigated, a little less carries, a little less targets, but he's still going to get a lot. And I think he's going to eat up in the red zone as well. I mean, he's built like a linebacker. It takes like more than one person to tackle him. And if we're on the 2-yard line, his threat of, going out for a route or running the ball right up the middle is just going to keep defenses on their toes. So I think he's going to eat up. I think he's going to be a great fantasy option. That's probably the best way to put it. He's going to rack up yards and touchdowns.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I mean, fantasy owners, you got two studs. You got Antonio Gibson and you got Terry McLaurin that you could draft. I mean, when's the last time we said that, right? Like elite offensive players that we had on this roster that people could draft in fantasy football. But Tone, I wasn't gonna ask about Dyami, but Dyami Brown. Personally, I think 1,000 yards is a little bit too much for Dyami this year. But do you think he could also have a very good season alongside Terry?
I think he's going to have a really good season, but 1,000 yards, I just highly doubt. It's too many weapons. It'd be different if we didn't have like a Terry McLaurin. I think Dyami Brown has 1,000-yard talent, but it's just too many mouths to feed. We're already talking about J.D. McKissick, Antonio Gibson. We're talking about maybe even Steven Sims playing some. Adam Humphries and Ryan Fitzpatrick right now are our closest chemistry connection right now. They're automatic, so he's going to get a lot of receptions. We still expected Terry McLaurin to get 1,300. There's just not enough room for Dyami Brown. And then I still haven't even named Curtis Samuel, who's going to get, trick plays out of the backfield, sweeps, reverses, screens, and he's going to be a receiver in the slot whenever he's out there usually. So, again, Dyami Brown's a 1,000-yard talent. Just this team has too many weapons.
Yep. And last, like, stats-ish type of question. How many sacks do you think Chase Young and Montez Sweat are going to have collectively this year? Because, there was, I don't know if you saw on social media, but there was talk about them potentially breaking, I don't even know if it's a record, the most sacks for like bookend, like defensive ends on a team. I don't even know if that's an actual record, but potentially like breaking the team sack record this year. I mean, do you have thoughts on that?
I want them to so bad, but first of all, you got to be the first one to get there. I mean, we've seen, I think Jonathan Allen was 5th out of interior defensive linemen in pressures in last year, and yet he didn't even hit double-digit sacks. You just got to be the first one to get there. There are some plays where Jonathan Allen would have gotten a sack if Chase Young didn't get there 2 steps before him. And I feel like it's going to be the same thing for Chase Young and Montez Sweat. A play they would have gotten a sack. Deron Payne got there first. Matt Ioannidis, now that he's healthy, our best pass rushing interior defensive lineman, he's going to get there first sometimes whenever he's healthy enough to play. So I don't see them beating any record. I think they're going to have a great season. I think it's going to be better than last year. First of all, Chase Young is now fully healthy going into week 1 rather than like waiting until week 11 when he's finally actually 100% himself. So I think that alone is going to help. But Jack Del Rio's also shown he's gonna blitz safeties, slot corners, outside corners. Everybody's blitzing this year. Yeah, so it's gonna be Jimmy Moreland out here getting sacks and things like that. So it's gonna be hard for Chase Young and Montez Sweat to get there first. So I think our team as a whole is gonna have a lot of sacks, but I don't think Chase Young and Montez Sweat are gonna set some record. I'm rooting for them, but I doubt it.
Yeah, I agree with you. Take off. Atlanta right here. Every card take off. No, that is unless my eyes are deceiving me, that is RICO. But now, of course, the moment that you guys have been waiting for the entire stream, we're gonna get into a Washington football team versus New England Patriots preseason game 1 preview. With the game, I want to first ask you, how long do you think the starters are going to play tonight? And do you think that Fitz will, get a lot of reps in, or do you think because he's the wily veteran, they might give him a couple reps here and there and then call it in a night?
Okay.
I think honestly they may play a lot of the first quarter, maybe the whole first quarter, but I definitely don't see them second quarter. I don't see them coming out of halftime going out there with Ryan Fitzpatrick risking injury, because I saw somewhere even a report that the Patriots don't really plan on playing a lot of their starters. I believe Mac Jones and Cam Newton will play, but I saw a report that like they're not going out there with a lot of their starters. I don't know how true that is.
It's very
but like you don't want
Bill Belichick.
Yeah. That first of all, that was weird. That was weird in itself. So like, but if that's true, you don't want a guy that's fighting for his life to make this team going out there diving in Ryan Fitzpatrick's ankle just to, do whatever he can to get a roster spot. You don't even want to put Ryan Fitzpatrick in that type of danger zone. So I would like for him to play in the beginning because we need them to build some chemistry. It's less preseason games than normal. We have one less. He's a new quarterback on this team. It seems like his chemistry with Adam Humphrey is already great for the reasons we already know. Terry McLaurin and Logan Thomas, they already had that down, but I still want him to connect with De'Ami Brown, Curtis Samuel. Hopefully, he can come in at some point during the preseason. So we still have some things to get done before. I don't want us to go out there in week one looking like it's week one. But I still think they're going to protect them to a certain extent. I only see them playing like a quarter, really, at most.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think it's a quarter as well. I think a lot of fans need to realize there's only 3 preseason games this year. Usually in the first game, the offense, the first stringers usually play. I believe it's like a drive usually. At least that's what it was for Jay Gruden. But I think because of the fact that we had 3 preseason games, I agree with you. Quarter tonight, and then potentially a half in the second preseason game, and that will be their dress rehearsal. Do you think that's kind of like what it's going to be like this year with the shortened preseason?
Yeah, because they took away the 4th preseason game. So dress rehearsals normally the 3rd or something like that, somewhere around there. So I guess it gets moved back to 2nd. I could definitely see that, them playing the whole half, one game, just so they can get all their jitters out, make all of their mistakes now. So when they go against the Chargers, they're ready to go.
Yeah. Next question I want to ask you is a fun one. Which player do you think scores the first touchdown tonight on either team?
I wouldn't be surprised if it's Jonnu Smith for the Patriots. And for us, it's just I don't know, because Antonio Gibson is like 99%, and they haven't held him back at all in training camp. He's out there for every drill he should be. They don't care about his turf toe at all. They're like, he's ready to go. But I'm not sure if they're going to hold him back in preseason or not. If they don't, I think Antonio Gibson gets our first touchdown, just off of the fact that he's running back and receiver. His chances is just higher than everybody else. For second place, I might have a Logan Thomas if we're able to put together a long drive. Now, you know, Fitzpatrick just hits Terry McLaurin for a deep ball like he did in the Friday night practice. Then it's Terry McLaurin, obviously. But I think if we put together a nice long, 7-minute, 80-yard drive, I think it'll be Logan Thomas or Antonio Gibson. My money's on Antonio Gibson.
Yep. I agree with you there once again. And how about the best of both worlds? I predict a long pass from Fitz to Terry McLaurin down the field. It won't be a touchdown or anything, but a pretty long pass, deep pass, and eventually Tony Gibson's going to run the ball in for a touchdown. I think that's how it's going to play out tonight. I think Washington's going to score first because it's the preseason, not the regular season, where we are notorious for scoring second. But that's how I have it.
We're preseason all-stars.
Yeah. And you kind of touched on it, Cam Newton, Mac Jones. You think we'll see more of Cam or Mac tonight? And also, who are you more excited to see? And who do you think will ultimately win their quarterback battle up there in New England?
So I expect us to see Cam like with the ones, and then Mac Jones for the majority of the day, I'm assuming. And I think Cam Newton will just win off top. I don't think they want to rush Mac Jones. I just haven't necessarily. I don't remember a time Bill Belichick has just rushed a rookie in there to play day one, especially like a rookie that he drafted late in the first round. It's not like he traded up to get him. This is our franchise quarterback. We're about to, start him week 1 and go win the Super Bowl type of thing. So I think Mac Jones is going to play more in the preseason. I think Cam Newton is going to start week 1. But honestly, as much as I love Cam Newton, I know he's my favorite player. I can see Mac Jones dethroning him some point in this season. If Cam Newton and him are close, Just like with Samuel Cosme and Cornelius Lucas, if they're close, you might as well play the younger guy. It's better for your future long term. You might as well go ahead and give them the meaningful, the vital experience and snaps and reps and real game time. So if Mac Jones and Cam Newton are like this as far as like gameplay, even if Mac Jones is slightly under Cam Newton, you just go ahead and play Mac Jones. So I could definitely see Mac Jones starting at some point this season.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you know, I'm a big Bama fan, so I gotta root for my Bama guys. Mac Jones, yeah. I know, Bama Georgia, but yeah. I do want to ask you though, because I'll get to 3-time Super Bowl champ Skins comment here, but in terms of the New England Patriots, do you think they might, you know, be AFC East champions in their division this year? Do you think they're going to get back to that, or do you think it's the Buffalo Bills division to lose once again?
Yeah, I mean, they're one of the most improved teams in the NFL, talking about the Patriots wise. But I still think the Buffalo Bills are the cream of the crop. They didn't improve much, but as you've seen, as long as Josh Allen is improving, that's all that matters. Every year he gets better, every year they go further. So the Patriots are a better overall team as far as improvement goes over this offseason, but I still think the Bills are the better team. I think the Patriots will compete, though. I think they'll be better than the Bills. It depends on Tua Tagovailoa how good the Dolphins will be. I think it's the Bills first, Patriots second, Dolphins third, Jets fourth. So yeah, I think the Patriots will be pretty good, but I just don't see them competing with the Chiefs. I don't see them really competing much with the Browns, the Ravens. I don't see them being as good as the Bills. So I think somewhere maybe like a top 10 AFC team, but definitely not top 5.
Yeah, I agree. I think though, I agree that the Bills division champs once again. I do think the Patriots are going to find their way into the playoffs. I just think Bill Belichick, every time this guy has a legit, you know, defense or has players on that defense, he always ends up in the playoffs. And I just think the same thing is going to apply this year. I think they did improve a lot this offseason. I don't think they are, I agree with you, at the Bills level right now, but I think they both can make it in the playoffs in the AFC. But I do want to get to, like I promised, 3-time Super Bowl skins with the best NBA player since 2008 on his profile picture. TPS. I don't know if you saw Rico, and it's still best player. I don't know if you saw Rico, but TBS named the Washington football team as one of the, I think it was 10 most overrated teams in the NFL. They actually put out a video. I know the Podfather, Kyle mentioned it on their podcast earlier in the week, but I mean, overrated.
Who is TPS?
It's like a YouTube channel. They're like big time. They have over like 1 million subs or something. Like they just do NFL content. And I like the channel. They have great content. But I came across that video after Kyle mentioned it on the Burgundy Zone podcast, and I was just confused. Top 10 most overrated.
Where's the rated? Like, who's rating us high? Is that Rich Eisen's fault? Remember that time he said, don't be surprised.
He had clips of Eisen and Greenberg on there and stuff, and yeah.
So that's what, because I just don't like, other than those exact examples, I just don't hear all this buzz around the NFL that the Washington football team is about to go to the Super Bowl, or they're about to win the division. You have a couple of smart guys saying it, but generally when you look at First Take or Undisputed, a lot of people, other than really I guess Shannon Sharp, most of those surface analysts that don't really dive deep into what each team actually has and what they're good at, what they're bad at. They all think it's the Cowboys. A lot of people are just saying Cowboys by default just because they have the bigger name and Dak Prescott.
And even Shannon Sharp is super critical on Fitz. Like, he doesn't like him.
Oh yeah. I mean,
even then, I feel like he always says Washington because just like he did with the Eagles, Cowboys, right? When the Eagles were good, just trying to spite, Skip and stuff and not go with his team. But I don't think we should put too much into Shannon's take on this. But
that's a good point. I just don't, but the overrated thing is crazy because how many people are rating us high in the first place? That's the basis of it. I saw somebody on Pro Football Focus say something about us being overrated. I'm like, who is putting us on this pedestal to where we can even be overrated?
I'm right there with you, bro. Like I really don't understand it. I didn't understand it when I watched the video. I actually watched what they had to say. It's pretty much just clips once again of Mike Greenberg, Rich Eisen talking about us being a very good team this year, potentially Super Bowl contenders in short order. But I don't know, man. I think we have all the pieces, like quarterback. we'll get to this as the last question, but I mean, they have all the pieces. Quarterback is really the only question mark right now. But I do want to ask you, kind of on that topic, right, of Washington and their place in the NFL, and really more specifically their place in the NFC East. Do you think Washington could repeat as NFC or will repeat as NFC East division champs this year? And how do you think the division overall will shake out record-wise?
Before training camp, I thought the Giants were our biggest threat. I just wasn't sure about Dak Prescott returning from injury. And then now we've seen, even with the shoulder injury, like, I mean, is he even going to be ready week 1 and things like that? And then even if he is, last year they were 1-3 with him starting. And then the only team he beat was the Falcons on that Super Bowl. You know how the Falcons do, thank goodness.
Yeah.
So like I'm not afraid of the Cowboys that much anyway. I don't expect their offensive line to stay healthy the whole year. I don't think their defense is going to be that much improved. Dan Quinn was the head coach for the Falcons last year, and they were probably the only ones who had a worse defense than the Cowboys. So they bring him in as the defensive coordinator, like that's going to fix everything. So but then again, the Giants are having so much turmoil. They have players retiring. They have no discipline with a pile up on Daniel Jones. I would never see Tom Brady at the bottom of a pile up. The players would never even dare do a pile up on top of Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson. So you just see the lack of respect and discipline there. I kind of feel sorry for Daniel Jones because it's just like, I don't even think that's necessarily his fault. Just the culture itself just isn't good yet. Even their stars free agency signing, Kenny Golladay, first of all, can't stay healthy. Even before he got hurt, was dropping easy passes in training camp. So, I mean, I don't know what to even think about the Giants. I thought potential-wise they were our biggest, matchup nightmare. But now, who knows? I think we honestly have a nice gap over everybody, especially if the Eagles don't trade for Deshaun Watson. I think we have this division, I wouldn't say on lock. I wouldn't just say, like, bet your life savings on this. But I definitely think we easily have the advantage right now. The better defense, the better overall team. If you go look at it, the past couple of years, Dak Prescott and Ryan Fitzpatrick have, I think one was number 10, one was number 12 in QBR. So it's not even like Dak Prescott is that much better than Ryan Fitzpatrick anyway. And that's what people point to as to why they'll win this division. We have the better depth. It's more games this year, 17. So the team that's the least hurt is really not even who's going to be the best team at the end of the year. It's going to be the one who's the healthiest. And then our bench is also good as well. So I just think it's just too many reasons why we're going to win the division.
Yeah. And record for the Washington football team this year, do you think it's what do you think it's going to be?
I'm definitely in that 10-7, 11-6 range. I may lean towards 11-6. That's where I'm going.
Wow.
Tough schedule, but I'm big time on this team. As long as Ryan Fitzpatrick doesn't sell us, I think our team is ready to win some real games this year.
Okay. I mean, I'm still in the 9-8 boat, bro. Like I think this team has a lot of potential. I think they're going to show us a lot of great things this year. I'm worried about the schedule. We have, my gosh, I think we have like 6 or 7 of the top quarterbacks in the league that we're playing in a very short time span on that schedule. So I don't know. I do want to say here 3-time, and I do think Washington's going to actually win the division on a tiebreaker with the Cowboys. So either way, I think they're still going to win the division, but 9-8 is going to do it this year. 3-time Super Bowl skins again with the best NBA player since 2008 in his profile picture. I kind of agree with you on this take. TPS just doesn't like the Washington football team and Dan Snyder because the Redskins name and all that. But then again, Mike Florio was also in that boat for a long time, but he's super high on the team now. So I don't know. I don't know if that necessarily is why they have them as overrated, but apparently it looks like a couple of people in the chat think 11-6 as well. I mean,
yes, sir.
They agree with you, Rico. The people out there agree with you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, we're just a little bit more aggressive. I believe in Ryan Fitzpatrick probably more than I should. Like, I just think with this situation around him being better than he's probably ever had in his career, and he actually looked pretty good for the Dolphins last year whenever he did play. The only reason he kept getting benched was because they wanted to see what Tua Tagovailoa could do. But when he was in, he was better than Tua Tagovailoa. So I think he's just only going to look better with us, just with the weapons around him, offensive line. He has his best friend Adam Humphries to throw to. When in doubt, if the play breaks down, he has Adam Humphries open underneath. It's just too many. And then our defense is only gonna get better. I just can't see us losing too many, even against these tough opponents. I think we're just gonna be too good for a lot of these teams to to beat us consistently. I can't see it like, even no matter how good our team seemed, we would still like put together 3 or 4 losses in a row. I don't see us having a 3-4 loss streak. I think at most we'll lose 2 games in a row and then win another, maybe win a few in a row. But I don't see us going with Ron Rivera's culture and coaching, how hard he's going to have them practicing after a loss, and like not like instead of feeling defeated, they'll feel like it's more of a hit to their pride. I just don't see us stringing together multiple losses in a row at any point this season.
And I think you correctly predicted 7-9 last season, or were you you were very close, if not spot on, right?
Memory terrible. I don't even remember what I said.
I was just about to say, I think you did, and I think that one of us is going to be wrong this year because last year, right, like 7-9. I think I also said 7-9, so that's why I was about to say, like, I think one of us is going to be wrong this year because we were going with different predictions, but no, the last question, I know you have to go, Rico. This guy, I mean, he's a content genius, content king right here at the Watch Football Team, and he has a lot of stuff going on tonight. And I'll make sure to leave some time for you to plug your content later. But last question, short. You know what it is. You've been on the channel. You know the question. Thoughts on the future of this franchise from what you've seen from training camp, the latter half of the offseason since the last time we talked. Do you think Super Bowls is coming in short order for the Watch Football Team?
Man, we get that quarterback situation figured out, I definitely see a Super Bowl. On one side, we're finally not only drafting well, putting together consistent years of drafting well, finding great talent deep in the draft, and like bargain deals in free agency. I mean, remember J.D. McKissick, Cornelius Lucas, Logan Thomas, and a couple of other guys were all one bargain free agency haul. Everybody was like, why did we sign them? Why didn't we go get bigger names? Now look at them. So we know what we know. Our tight ends coach knows that he'll look at a Logan Thomas and be like, I can turn that guy into a star. Our running backs coach, Randy Jordan and Scott Turner, can look at Antonio Gibson, even though he's raw, I can turn that guy into a star. So now top to bottom, not even just head coach, defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, even like the positional coaches, everybody's on one page. And we're able to build young talent, not only develop, draft young talent, but we're re-signing them now. We signed that Jonathan Allen and Logan Thomas to long-term deals. Jonathan Allen is the first round pick that signed a second contract with us since Ryan Kerrigan. And Ryan Kerrigan was an obvious one. So now I feel like we're finally about to put together a real nice long-term young core. So I think just we're smart in free agency. We're smart in the draft. We can develop guys. Our coaching top to bottom is great. I think if we can figure out that quarterback position, we trade up for Malik Willis, me preferably, Westlake High School, Southwest Atlanta type of thing. Mm-hmm. My next Trey Lance, I think it's got to be Super Bowl. Because right now, honestly, the only reason people feel like we're not a Super Bowl contender is because they worry about Ryan Fitzpatrick. Even Rich Eisen, who said we can make it to the Super Bowl, says it only happens if Ryan Fitzpatrick has an MVP level season. So if we have like the next Josh Allen, next Trey Lance, the next Pat Mahomes, next Lamar Jackson, and it seems like
not even next, maybe Aaron Rodgers, or not even next.
Hey man, do that.
That's my guy. That's my number one target for next offseason. If we don't go anybody,
hey man, I'll take him for the next. I'll take him for the next 3 to 5 years easily. I'm right with you. So if we could do that, I don't see how we're not easily one of the top 4 at least best teams in the NFL.
Yep, agree with you there, Rico. And thank you so much for joining the stream. Like I said, I mean, content king.
Speaking of LeBron, my boy, well, Westbrook's my second favorite player now because, I got Ant and he's super Atlanta. So Ant's my favorite now. But my boy Westbrook teamed up with your boy LeBron. So we're going to be kind of rooting for the same team this year. So that's going to be kind of fun.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, Wizards and the local teams first. Okay, for all those people out there who think, oh, LeBron fan. No, Wizards first, right? Local teams first. But yeah, for sure. It'll be fun to see LeBron get number 5. But thank you so much, Rico, for joining. Everybody in the chat. My gosh, it was lively tonight. Tone, Tiho, Uria, Roger Smith, Tim at the tail end. Thank you so much for joining, bro. Redskin 007 or 007. 3-time Super Bowl champ skins with the interesting profile picture. Anthony Thomas, MPC voter, everybody. Thank you so much. Roger Smith, Awesomeness Sports. You guys all know who you are. Thank you for joining. And Rico, like I said, you can plug anything right now. Oh, also, go sub up Rico's channel, man. Like, this guy, I could see, he's pushing through the stream and, maybe he might be a little bit under the weather, but go get this guy to 100,000 subs, right? Not 10, 20, 100,000 subs for my guy, Rico. Rico, plug whatever you want.
Thank you, man. Thank you, man. Yeah, you can find me on YouTube, Street Scores, Twitter, Street Scores, ATL as in Atlanta. I will be live streaming during the preseason game. And yeah, man, I just my eyes been killing me, so that's why I gotta wear the shades with the bright lights and things like that, and that's making my nose run. But man, I gotta keep going because I was like, man, first of all, even if I didn't have my show after this, I would have still pulled up to your show. But I was like, there's no way I'm gonna do my show, and because my eye hurt, I'm not gonna do my boy DMV Sports Zone. So I was like, man, we just gonna have to get it together. And pull it together. I think by tomorrow I'll be straight though. But yeah, man, that's basically the reason I'm wearing the shit. I don't want to wear them. I see people saying I look like Takeoff and stuff like that. I used to get that all the time while I lived in New York too. I'm not even using my strongest Atlanta accent, but I guess I just look like them. But yeah, man, I will be live streaming the preseason game. I will be starting at 7:30, and I won't actually be showing the game because, copyright rules, but I will have since it's the preseason, normally I have the score up and the play-by-play, but it's the preseason. So I'm going to have everybody's jersey numbers up today. So yeah, you can just check us out. It'll be the dogs on the side, me at the bottom left, and everybody's jersey numbers taking up the majority of the screen. And we'll just be watching and analyzing the preseason game. I have a few guys I'm looking at the hardest: Samus Reyes, Jamin Davis, Benjamin St. Juste, De'Ami Brown. So if you want commentary on those guys specifically, and not of course the obvious people like Terry McLaurin and Ryan Fitzpatrick, pull up to the stream as well. And yeah, man, DMV Sports Zone, man, anytime you need me to pull up to the stream, I'm pulling up for sure.
Appreciate that, bro. And yeah, I'll pull up to your stream at some point. I don't know when, but at some point I will pull up. Go make sure to pull up, guys. And again, sub up my guy Rico, Street Scores, one of the best, if not the best, content creators in our community out there. So, but yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the DMV Sports Zone channel, or we try to post fire content on here as much as possible. We are this close to 1,000 subs. Try to get us there, guys. We're very close. Let's go. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Instagram page, DMV Sports Zone, Twitter page, DMV Sports Zone. We post pretty much daily, if not every other day at this point. But yeah, guys, thank you guys so much for watching, and peace. Have a great preseason game number 1.